Can you not this up? Hey everybody, Don and Alex from Top Guns out of Terre Haute, Indiana. First, I want to take a minute and apologize that we haven't had any videos out for about 2 months. We came into Christmas season, we got extremely busy, and
it's definitely our busy season.
It is our busy season, and we just weren't able to get anything out. So we're back in the swing of things. Today we're going to talk about
belts, guys. This is something that everybody wants to know a little bit more about, but it's also the core of your rig and something you definitely don't want to skip on whenever you're talking about quality or price. So definitely enjoy this video. Let's get to it. All right, Don, so today we're going to talk about belts. Now, tell us a little bit about your criteria when you're picking out a belt.
The first thing I look at is the quality of the belt. How well is it made? What kind of stitching does it have? Taking consideration you're going to wear this thing every single day. Another big factor to me is because I carry a gun everywhere all the time. I want to make sure that this is going to secure my everyday carry in the position that I carry and do it comfortably.
Sure, in my criteria, really, it needs to be, lightweight. It needs to, resist stretching, and overall, can you wear this every single day, all day?
Right.
So when I went through a bunch of Walmart belts, and they kept stretching, keep out pull your pants up. So that is why you never want to be cheap on this and get a good quality belt. All right, Don, tell us a little bit about especially what you don't want to buy when it comes to nylon belts.
Okay, don't get cheap on your belts. I made the same mistake years ago. If you find a belt at your local gun shop or Walmart or Target or a gun show, and you can take the belt and you can bend it with your fingers, it is not what you want. It will not support the core for your everyday carry. Now, something like this Liberty belt is a traditional style, okay? So you have a traditional belt buckle. It is very thick. Literally, it's hard. I cannot get this to fold.
Sure.
We can loop this together, and our close to 300 pounds can stand on them. They don't bend. It's very rigid. It's what you want. Liberty has included metal grommets on these as well. So as far as your stretching and your rigidity, it's going to maintain. So that's something that you really, really want to look for.
Absolutely. So that's a great option. But if you want something, especially with a Cobra clasp, guys, so Cobra clasps are going to be probably the #1 option when it comes to picking out a belt in the nylon market. Now, I'm sure we'll do a little close-up kind of explaining what a Cobra clasp is, but there's different styles, some big, some small. Now, this is a G-code belt. This is a phenomenal belt. Again, do the pinch test, there's no way you're going to be able to bend this. Now, this comes in a bunch of different options, and a lot of guys use a G-code rig, especially because of the quality. Now, and it's going to be hard on camera to show you, but there's a double layer here. Very thick, very rigid, a great option for a belt.
Absolutely, it's one of the nicer ones on the market. Now, something that is a little different from what we've done here. Again, this is made by Click Belt. Again, Cobra clasp. It is extremely popular. Over the 20-some submissions we got, I'd say well over half had a Cobra clasp on them. The nice thing about this belt is, again, you're maintaining that rigidity. I can't bend the belt, so it's going to support your gun.
Absolutely. So there's something a little bit different about this belt. So like when you look at a G-code belt, at the ends, the material, the thickness goes all the way around, and you have just a little bit hanging out. Now, when it comes to a Click belt, they've actually done something where you have a lot of adjustment in it, and they use just a standard webbing type material, but it has a lot of adjustment, which is important for us.
Right, so in a lot of the belts you're going to see, especially if you're buying them online, you can't get into a shop to try them on, they all have a different measuring system for you. And we did, even though we followed measuring systems for some of these manufacturers, some of the belts that were sent to us for review based on their system did not fit us. So something like this gives you about 8 or 9 inches of flexibility.
Now, which is very important.
Very important. The potential downside for you is this particular Cobra clasp is very large. It won't fit through most belt loops, so you have to remove this, put the belt on, and then put your belt buckle back on. Again, not a big deal for me since I have all the adjustability that I want. Sure. It takes just a second to do, and it allows you to grow and shrink with your belt.
So something I like though, and probably the #1 belt, and it's actually the belt both of us are wearing today, is from a company called Blue Alpha Gear. Now, they have a different type of Cobra clasp here at the end. Now, this one actually fits through your belt loops without having to come apart. Now, what they've done is it's very, very thick, very rigid, but also very lightweight. So that's the major difference between something like a G-code belt that has a lot of thickness to it. They have the same type here, but it's a lot thinner and a lot easier to use.
So we've talked about the ins and outs and do's and don'ts of nylon belts. So why don't we jump into leather and tell us some of the differences there and how they kind of relate to nylon.
Sure, so if you don't want to wear a nylon belt, let's say you have your shirt tucked in, you're going to church, going on a date, and you want something like a nice high quality leather belt to look nice. Now, click belts, they actually merge the two styles together. They have a cobra clasp and they have all the adjustability that you would expect out of a nylon belt, but they've actually done it in a high quality leather. Now they also do it in brown, they do it in black, they do everything you can possibly think of. And if you want to have a belt that merges the two styles together, that's a great option. So what's another leather company that you really like?
Well, when I started looking at leather belts years ago, like everybody, I wanted a good quality belt, so I started looking at thickness. One of the things that I didn't pay attention to was stitching.
Sure.
Okay? Stitching turned out to me over the years after I bought a kind of a mid-grade belt in the $40 range, I found that my stitching started to come apart. So one of the companies that I ended up going with and I've been wearing for several months, and they actually gave us a submission, was Bigfoot belts.
Sure.
This was a fantastic belt, and what really got me on this was the quality versus the price. Now, the Cobra clasp, great, okay?
Right.
For my nylon, for my everyday, especially here at work. When I'm out, I don't want a Cobra clasp. So I chose a traditional belt. And I have the same belt, but in a dark brown. But it is a traditional style. This is a very thick belt. And then when I talk about stitching, I want you to notice how close, of course you won't be able to see it here, we'll get a close up on how close the stitching is. Now this is a very, very thick, rigid leather belt.
Now I do want to point something out. So this is something that I had issues with when I had other belts. Now, the holes on here, they stretch out,
right?
Okay, because again, we're pulling on this. We have a gun in on the inside of the waistband.
Constantly
we're overweight to
stretching on
begin
that
with. It's stretching this out. Now, I also have a brown Bigfoot belt, and I've never had an issue with it. It's probably the most surprising belt that we've dealt with in the entire review.
Yep, and again, the quality versus the price was the big thing. Honestly, there are belts out there that are better.
Sure.
But you're jumping up into the $200 range. And they've added additional stiffeners and things like that that make it even more rigid. So if you want to jump into that category, and we'll talk about some of those here in a little bit. But Bigfoot has just been absolutely fantastic.
You know, another one that I wore for a long, long time was a Linwood blunt force trauma belt. All right, guys. So
that was your favorite go-to for
the longest time. And it's a fantastic option. All right. So what they have done, they actually put a conveyor belt type material on the back and a super high quality leather on the front. Again, all custom hand done, all custom made. But
the cool part
is they actually have a 6-8 ounce stainless steel bar on the front. Now you can actually take this through, airport security, anywhere, in a place that you're not necessarily going to have a firearm. You can actually use this as a weapon. It's a great option, and I've used it for a very, very long time.
One of the customers that bought this specifically, and I was curious to see whether he was going to make it. He was going to Europe and he couldn't take any type of weapons at all. No knives, no nothing. He came in and specifically bought this belt to take overseas and had zero problems, and fortunately he didn't have to use it, but you have to watch some of Linwood's videos of him smashing stuff with that.
Yeah, he literally standing on top of his belt. A super, super high quality belt. Now we've sold this from everyone from a pilot all the way up to a doctor, someone who just cannot have a gun anywhere or any type of weapons. It's a great option for them. Again, guys, check those guys out over at Linwood. So the last one on our list is actually made by a holster company out of all things. So this is the Crossbreed belt. So tell us a little bit about this, and there's some pros and some cons on this style belt.
Absolutely. So this belt, again, I have been wearing my Bigfoot for quite a while, so this was something that I had to do a direct comparison with. It felt as comfortable as what my Bigfoot did. They are very, very well known for their holsters. They have a fantastic following with Crossbreed. One of the things that I noticed on this versus my Bigfoot, again, you start looking at stitching, the stitching wasn't nearly as close together. It's spaced apart. To me, that tells me over time, when I'm paying good money for a belt, then I'm not going to get the longevity out of this that I want. I want a good leather belt that lasts me a minimum of 5 years.
Absolutely. So if you're going to buy a nice quality, expensive type leather belt, you want it to last. And so something like this, I don't think it's going to last as long as some of the other ones like that we've talked about earlier.
Right.
But again, it's a good option if you're on a budget because of the thickness.
Absolutely. It is a good, thick, rigid belt. It will suit you well, especially if you're just getting into this and you're taking the dive and going, okay, well, I guess I got to spend 70, 80 bucks on a belt.
Right.
And you don't want to make that $200 jump right off the bat. These are a good way to go.
So Don, we went through a bunch of submissions, everything from high quality leather belts that are $200 plus, all the way down to a $20 super thin nylon belt. but one company absolutely stood out above the rest, and that is Blue Alpha Gear. Tell us a little bit about it.
First, I want to thank all the other belt companies for sending their submissions. We wouldn't be able to do this testing and bring you the information without them, so thank you guys. Like you said, both of us ended up with Blue Alpha Gear as our everyday carry belt, so there's a couple reasons for that. One, it came with the Cobra clasp, which is absolutely fantastic. That's not the reason that it won. The thickness and rigidity along with the lightweight of this belt is absolutely fantastic. And we started this series, what, about 4 months ago or so, something like that. We started getting our first submissions, and we've both been wearing this belt. I've been wearing it every day for at least 3 months.
Sure.
And I have had zero stretching. It still has all this rigidity. It's just absolutely fantastic.
But definitely something I like about this that set it apart from the rest is they actually have a small female end to the Cobra clasp.
Right.
Now this is something I can fit in my belt loops, go all the way around, no issues at all. So whenever you're picking out a belt, all right, and again, this is something that they did that stood out from the rest, is they do not charge fat tax at all. So whenever you're going to buy a belt and you have to go through a company and you're saying, hey, I want a size 50, 44, whatever it is, that's not necessarily your pant size, but that is what Blue Alpha has done. When you order a belt from them, there's zero fat tax, and you order exactly what your pant size is. And that has all the adjustment you could possibly need in this belt.
So just to kind of recap where we ended up, I carry appendix, and I know people still come to the shop and say, man, I can't believe you're fat and carry appendix.
Sure,
it's comfortable, but I still do. So I'm still carrying my Advantage holsters with my Glock 23. But if I switch guns, one of the nice things for me with a lot of these belts, but specifically with this, is all I have to do is hit my Velcro and pull it, snug it up, or loosen it up so I go with a bigger gun. It's super easy, super fast, and I'm not bound to a specific 38 belt.
Absolutely. So again, I ordered the exact pant size that I need. I put it on, like today I'm wearing this ProTech Custom Gear holster with my Shield 45. Again, guys, if you haven't heard of ProTech Custom Gear, great guys, definitely go check them out. Now, some of the do's and don'ts, Don. Let's think about, when we're going to recap this video, let's talk about some of the major do's and don'ts and what surprises people can expect when going out and trying to buy a nice quality gun belt.
Okay, do. Number one, suck it up, spend a little bit of money. You will be much, much happier in the long run. It's like with holsters, and people come in all the time, man, oh, I bought this $20 holster here, and I bought that $30 holster here, and they end up with 5 or 6 holsters for the same gun until they finally spend the money.
We all have that holster box.
Yeah, I mean, it's don't make the mistake here. Spend the money. Look for the quality. Get them in your hand if you can. Try not to buy it online.
It's the hardest thing to buy online. You cannot buy a nice quality belt online because you just don't know.
Right. So rigidity, again, very, very important. With the Blue Alpha that we're wearing, I would not, although I would not have a problem carrying an outside the waistband gun and think that it would not hold in place. It's going to keep it secure in my body. It's not going to be flopping around.
That's right. So that's one of the major things you have to look at. Is this thing going to start canting in? Is it going to flop around? Again, Blue Alpha and almost every belt company we went through that was on the higher quality side, like Bigfoot, Clip Belts, all those guys, we had no problem. Now, another thing you have to think of is what size is the holster clip that you have?
Right.
So is it 1.5 inches or is it 1 3/4 inches? So don't make a mistake ordering an 1 3/4 inch belt when you have a 1.5 inch clip on your gun rig.
And again, we're talking about the width here, and that can also come into play for your belt loops as well.
Absolutely.
Some pants will not accept a 1 3/4 belt. Traditionally, a 1 3/4 is designed for more of an underbelt for duty carry or for rigs, for competition rigs, stuff like that. I think you'll find that the majority of everyday belts are the 1.5, which is what we are all wearing.
Thanks again, guys, for watching the Overweight Operator Series right here at Top Guns in Terre Haute, Indiana.
We want to thank everybody that submitted belts for the review. They were great belts. We're going to list everything at the end. And I think we'll also have some of the pricing on there for some of these that'll just kind of shock you as to what you're going to get a quality belt for.
Absolutely, guys. So we're going to put, again, everything here at the end, and we hope that you really maybe learned a little bit about purchasing a quality, proper gun belt.
Absolutely. Thank you again for watching, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, guys. Top Guns and the Overweight Operators would like to thank Liberty Gun Belts, G-Code, Click Belts, Blue Alpha Gear, Bigfoot Belts, Linwood, Crossbreed for all providing gear that we used in this video. Also check out our friends over at ProTech Custom Gear for all your custom holster needs. Tell us a little bit about Blue Alpha Gear.
You think they'll see you spitting on me?
I saw it.
Yeah, I saw it through the lights and I saw it shine and everything.
So Don, we went through a ton of submissions with leather belts and nylon belts,
Right.
but definitely one company stood out above the rest. Tell us a little bit about Blue Alpha Gear.
Yep. That's the first time you've done that.
I did it last time too.
No, you didn't. Roll it back and we'll bet $20 million on it.
Tell us a little bit about Blue Alpha Gear. All right, let's do it.
I'm building this wall.
Or you want to bet?
$20 million, I'm building this wall.
Tell us a little bit about Blue Alpha Gear.
No.
Push-ups.
No.
50.
The wall's gonna be more than that.
50 push-ups in front of everybody out there. Tell us a little bit about Blue Alpha Gear.
I didn't say that.
G-code, click belt, Blue Alpha Gear, Bigfoot belt, Linwood, Crossbreed, and especially ProTech for the gear provided for this video. Thank you, and have a good day. Top Guns and the overweight operators. Top Guns and the overweight operators would like to thank Liberty Gun Belts, G-code, click belts, Blue Alpha Gear, Bigfoot belts, Linwood, Crossbreed for providing the gear for this video. Also check out our friends over at ProTech Custom Gear for all your custom holster needs.